Tonight, calls for a Catholic school trustee's resignation grow louder.
People are very offended, insulted, and disgusted by the comments.
It felt like a direct attack.
Mike Delgrand under fire after he suggested adding pedophilia and bestiality to the school board's code of conduct. Plus,
beginning Tuesday, we will start a limited withdrawal of services.
The province and the union representing high school teachers remain at odds with a Work the Rule campaign set to begin next week. And the Leafs face the Coyotes in Phoenix with a brand new boss behind the bench. We're hearing from Sheldon Keefe a day after the team fires Mike Babcock. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. Toronto Catholic school trustees meeting behind closed doors tonight to discuss what to do about one of their own. Mike Delgrand says he wasn't serious when he equated the LGBT community with bestiality and pedophilia. But as Natalie Nanowski tells us, calls are growing for the trustee to step aside.
After learning what happened at a meeting earlier this month, these students wanted to come tonight.
It felt like a direct attack, and it felt unnecessary. It felt like not something that should be compared, especially in a Catholic board. In a place where everyone is supposed to come together through their faith.
The incident she's referring to happened 2 weeks ago. Trustees passed a motion to add gender identity and gender expression to the board's code of conduct. Vice Chair Michael Delgrand didn't agree and requested that terms such as bestiality, pedophilia, and cannibalism be added as well, saying the board's move was a slippery slope.
He isn't educated on like the difference between what being gay is and like what those illegal actions are.
Delgrand hasn't apologized, saying he wasn't serious and the comments were meant as hyperbole. There's now an online petition to remove him, and the board says it's received hundreds of emails from angry parents.
Basically, people are very offended, insulted, and disgusted by the comments, and I don't believe that there's many members of the board that can condone that kind of language.
Tonight, trustees met behind closed doors to discuss the next steps.
It will be in the hands of the trustees. The trustees will make that determination. Certainly, I will encourage Trustee Delgrand to apologize.
Do you think it's hard being part of the LGBTQ community and also Catholic?
Sure. Absolutely. I think that it's something that some people see as not possible, when I think that it is the most possible, because the Catholic community should be and has always been about loving one another and about not judging other people.
Because Delgrand is an elected official, he can't be forced out. He would have to voluntarily resign. The only thing the board can do is bar him from attending any future meetings, and it looks like the board needs a few more days to decide exactly how it wants to handle this situation. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Another Ford government policy being overturned by the courts. Ontario's Divisional Court threw out a measure that allowed post-secondary students to opt out of paying for services deemed non-essential. The province announced the so-called Student Choice Initiative back in January. It sparked concerns over the future of campus newspapers, food banks, and other services. Last spring, the Canadian Federation of Students, along with the York Federation of Students, launched a court challenge against the initiative, arguing it unfairly targeted student unions and threatened the autonomy of universities. In its decision, the court called the autonomy of universities fundamental to the academic freedom that is their hallmark, saying the directives by the province are not authorized by law and are inconsistent with the autonomy granted universities, bedrock principles on which Ontario universities have been governed for more than 100 years. The province says it is reviewing the decision. Police released video footage of an alleged intentional hit and run that killed a 16-year-old boy in East York last month. A warning to our viewers, this video contains graphic content. You can see an SUV on the bottom left of your screen running over Matthew Drever. This is in the area of Woodbine and O'Connor on the day of October 7th. A bystander is seen running away and avoiding the vehicle before approaching Drever after he was hit. The vehicle turns around and drives past the two before then driving away. Police are looking for for a dark blue or black Hyundai Santa Fe made between 2007 and 2012. They believe it may have some front-end damage. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Toronto is getting a new traffic enforcement team to crack down on dangerous drivers. It's part of the city's Vision Zero plan, the 5-year initiative working to reduce traffic-related deaths and injuries. So far this year, about 50 people have died in collisions, the majority of them cyclists and pedestrians. Angelina King has more.
They gunned the left, and I was going through the green light, and they smashed into me.
3 years ago, bike courier Brice Topher was hit by a van, picked up by an ambulance, and got stitches. He says every day at work, there's a moment he feels unsafe.
You have people, acting in ways that endanger everyone. So there's red light running, there's, turning illegally, there's even just people going through intersections in dangerous ways.
Do you have any declarations of interest?
The police service wants to stop that with the new Vision Zero enforcement team, traffic officers who will focus on high speed and high collision areas. The new unit will include 2 teams of 4 working a day and evening shift Monday through Friday, all on overtime.
If it's something that's going to help save lives, then I'm in favor of doing it every year, not just this year and not just on overtime.
There was a similar unit in place between 2003 and 2012. During that time, officers handed out 125% more traffic tickets than in the previous decade, and the number of collisions decreased by 24%. From 2013 to 2018, the years it disbanded, the number of collisions went up from around 55,000 to 80,000 per year.
Would Samuel Dan Kumar still be alive? Would Celeste Jones still be alive?
Road safety advocates told the board they're left wondering if deaths and injuries in that time could have been prevented. Jessica Speaker was hit by a car in 2015.
To what extent does the absence of enforcement, what did that contribute to my crash? I'll never know for sure, but now it's an extra question I have to just live with, that I don't know really what the answer is, but surely some responsibility lies with that.
The chief says traffic officers have always been patrolling roads and that this is a collective effort.
There are things that law enforcement can do, and there are other things that we need to do, from that education, that awareness piece, and that cultural shift.
For people like Topher, he welcomes the idea, but he's skeptical.
I feel like the situation on the road has become more dangerous since Vision Zero has been in place. So I think it really depends on the application. There has to be really a true enforcement of the laws.
The new unit will cost $1 million for next year, and officers will likely be out on the streets as early as January. They'll be looking for what police refer to as the Big Four: speeding, impaired driving, aggressive driving, and distracted driving. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Time for our first look at the weather forecast with Colette Kennedy. We're almost done with the rain, but it's the wind we'll have to deal with tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to carry on with these stronger winds into especially tomorrow morning, but they'll be around in the afternoon. They'll be backing off a little bit, however. Yeah, and that rain ending as we go past the midnight hour here, say towards around 2, although it's getting lighter and a little more spotty in nature. Our temperatures, though, they're rising as we're going through the overnight. Then they'll be sliding, cooling down as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So kind of a flip-flop of things, and there's that windy morning that we are talking about. So in terms of this moisture working its way through, it's significant snow to the north, into northern Ontario, 10 to 15 centimeters of snow, but we're talking about seeing totals of 5 to 10 millimeters of rain to the northwest of the GTA and less than 5 millimeters as this carries on and finishes up. Then with the flow across the lakes, we will see some streamers showing up into tomorrow morning. Could a flurry make its way into the city? Yes, that is possible, but primarily it's going to stay to the northwest of us, and we won't worry too much about it. We get into a situation where we will get some clearing to the afternoon and a nice setup actually for Saturday. It's just that the air mass that's moving in is going to be a little bit colder. In terms of those winds and what gusts we'll see for southwestern Ontario, you may be seeing some gusts exceeding even 65 or 70 kilometers an hour. Some of the stronger winds around the GTA here up over 60 kilometers an hour, and then down towards the southwestern shores of Lake Ontario. There you could even see some stronger winds with more of an impact before they back off tomorrow into the afternoon hours. So temperature up Well, I hope there's someone who's going to be able to take advantage of that, going up overnight tonight because then falling through the day tomorrow to about 2-3 degrees tomorrow afternoon, Mike.
Heading home after the show. I'll take advantage of that 9 degrees. Thank
Good.
you. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Ontario's controversial pit bull ban was up for debate today at Queen's Park. A private member's bill introduced by the PC's Rick Nichols is trying to repeal the 15-year-old ban.
My fundamental goal is to provide a safe and humane communities and to be protected against all dangerous dogs of all breeds and types while protecting dogs from cruel and irresponsible owners.
The ban was introduced by the Liberal government back in 2005 after a series of high-profile pit bull attacks. Today's supporters argued owners are to blame for bad behavior, not the animals. Now, it is a divisive issue within the Ontario PCs, but it does have bipartisan support from the Greens and the NDP, along with a number of animal advocacy organizations, all saying the breed-specific legislation is discriminatory.
Biggest concern was the fact that we're euthanizing, not here, but other organizations are euthanizing very healthy, adoptable animals for no reason whatsoever, except that somebody thinks it looks like another animal that's dangerous.
We have a couple of dogs from the fight bus in Chatham. One of them is a police dog now in Virginia. One of them is actually a therapy dog for a senator in New Jersey. One of them is going to be an arson dog, the first pit bull arson dog in the U.S.
The MPPs today voted in favor of a second reading of the bill. Well, the union representing high school teachers in Ontario says it will start a work to rule campaign next week to put pressure on contract talks. Meanwhile, the province is scaling back its plans for online courses. We'll tell you what that means for students and contract talks after the break. Premier Ford is heading to Ottawa tomorrow for meetings with the federal government. Today, he announced a new provincial council that will focus on improving relations with the feds.
I'm announcing that I will chair a new council of provincial and federal relations. My ministers and I will work to ensure that the interests of the people of Ontario are top of mind when we meet with the new federal government.
Ford says the new council will focus on securing federal funding for major transit projects and healthcare initiatives. Reporters also asked the Premier today about revelations the province will have to pay more than $250 million to cancel $250 million to cancel green energy projects. Ford says the cancellations will end up saving taxpayers money.
I'm proud that we actually saved the taxpayers $790 million when we canceled those terrible wind turbines that is really for the last 15 years have destroyed our energy file.
The Premier also announcing today he will host all provincial premiers in Toronto on December 2nd. On the province is changing plans yet again when it comes to some education reforms, scaling back plans for high school students to take some mandatory classes online. As Lorenda Redekop tells us, the Education Minister hopes the measure will help students and help out at the bargaining table.
Tell me what you're doing here.
Education Minister Stephen Lecce visited a company that teaches kids about robotics and coding.
So how long does it take to program?
As he announced details about online classes for high school students.
Ontario students will be required to take 2 online credits to graduate secondary school.
1, 2, 3.
That's down from the 4 online courses the government initially proposed.
He's gone halfways towards doing the right thing. But once again, this is a fire, ready, aim approach where they've made their decision. Now it's 2 e-learning mandatory courses.
This comes as bargaining is underway with the Union for High School Teachers. One of their issues has been the e-learning plan. Today, the union announced it's beginning labor action next Tuesday, the same day as elementary teachers. Among their actions, teachers will not participate in EQAO preparation or testing, participate in unpaid staff meetings outside the regular school day, or provide comments on any report cards, though they will submit marks. Lecce says his announcement shows the government is listening to teachers.
We're going to continue to do our job in good faith to get deals. But I need the unions to hear this message, to be reasonable.
This high school teacher did her PhD on e-learning in TDSB schools. She says it works for students doing well, but worries about other students. Her message to the minister?
Stop, put the brakes on completely. Half a disaster is not good enough. Our students deserve better.
As for e-learning, while it is mandatory, there will be some exemptions. He says more students want to learn online.
Having that capacity online with technology is vital. And so this is about really going where the puck is going in the context of how we learn and what we learn.
Lecce says the government will be doing consultations. The union argues that should have happened first. It's yet another issue that the 2 sides disagree on. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
A day after the Leafs fired their head coach, there are many questions surrounding the future of the struggling team.
It's been exciting and it's been nonstop coming to the arena here today and just then starting to coach. That's when it really felt normal getting on the ice.
I'm Greg Ross. Coming up, we hear from the Leafs' new head coach and we ask fans if they think Sheldon Keefe is the man to turn the team around.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Game one for the Maple Leafs under new head coach Sheldon Keefe, and the team came out strong. Lots of speed and possession, and a big breakthrough goal. Defenseman Tyson Barrie scoring his long-awaited first goal of the season. That gave Toronto a 1-0 lead in the first. Right now in the third, Toronto's up 3-0. And before tonight's game, the Leafs' new coach Sheldon Keefe faced the cameras to talk about what he had planned for the team. Greg Ross has that story.
I recognize the responsibility and the privilege.
The fact that he now carries the weight of Leafs Nation on his shoulders is not lost on Sheldon Keefe, but he says he's ready to try and right what has gone wrong with his new team this season.
We have good players here. We have a good team. And I think my message to the players today is that I'm not focused on what this team isn't. I'm focused on what this team is.
It's a team that came into this season with high expectations but failed to live up to them. Many have suggested the players simply lost confidence in Mike Babcock as a coach.
You could see the frustration in their eyes, and I really thought, even in our last game, that the players were working really hard, but there was a sort of a belief missing in them.
Just kind of reading off the players and watching them, how they were reacting to different things, that it was probably just time.
Back in Toronto, many Leaf fans have lost confidence as well.
It looks like this season's a write-off.
But they do seem willing to throw their support behind the new coach.
From what I've heard, everything seems that his record is pretty good, so he's got as good a chance as anyone, I guess.
Now it's up to the players to do the same.
It's obviously a bit of a different feeling today, but as players, we got to answer the bell.
It's going to be a work in progress, and we're all going to have to really stay with it and compete.
Keefe didn't get a chance to hold a full practice with his new team before tonight's game, but he does have a history with many of the players, having coached more than half of them when they played for the Marlies.
It's just a lot easier for me coming into the room today and being around the guys and talking with them. And as I said, it really, I wasn't sure how it was going to feel and how it was going to be, but it really just felt like coaching.
Only now he's coaching at a much higher level. Tonight marks his first game behind the bench in the NHL. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette's back with her extended forecast, and it's not fair when the daytime highs occur overnight.
It doesn't seem fair to the most of us anyway, right? If you're a shift worker or someone who's out through the overnight hours, take advantage of it, because our average high at this time of year is just under 6 degrees, and we're looking at maybe not double digits, but getting very close as the temperature rises tonight to about 9 degrees and then begins to fall through the day on Friday. Yeah, seeing those showers working their way out of here. On the backside with some cooler air in place and those winds coming across the relatively warmer waters of the lakes, there will be a few squalls that set up. As I've mentioned earlier, a flurry could make its way into the city or into the GTA, but primarily I think it's going to be up around Markham. You might see some of this into Newmarket area, and then really from there it's going to be towards the northwest, and then getting into a situation where we get some clearing, and so the winds will be backing off into tomorrow afternoon. And we get some sunshine coming through for Saturday, but just knowing that those winds really will still be strong for tomorrow morning's commute. So even though it won't be wet, if you're in a high-profile vehicle, for example, on the Burlington Skyway, you'll need to hold on and take it a little easy there, because look at some of these winds around Hamilton up towards 70 kilometers an hour. This was at midnight through the overnight, and then even tomorrow in the morning hours, 50 to 60 kilometer an hour, some of those gusts. In southwestern Ontario, those will be easing tomorrow morning, late morning, but some strong winds there too tonight. In terms of your temperatures for southwestern Ontario, looking at that same trend, so we're getting warmer, headed towards double digits, and then as we go into tomorrow, yes, things drying out, but those temperatures kind of coming back down. And then by the time you get into the afternoon hours, yes, the winds will have shifted to the northwest. That actually happens earlier in the day, but they'll be getting lighter for you too. So that's the sustained wind, and we won't be seeing as many gusts there. Now, the gusts, as I showed you, were 50, in some cases even over 70 kilometers an hour around the GTA. That rain will be tapering off here shortly, but those readings, if only we could hold on to those through the day tomorrow with the sunshine, No. We get some sunshine, but we see those temperatures plummeting, so down to 2 to 3 degrees, and our winds easing off a little bit later on in the day. But this is what happens because those temperatures kind of falling into the afternoon. As we go Friday night into Saturday, we'll be back into the negative, so -3. And then Saturday looks like we should have sunshine, 5 degrees temperature, getting there closer to seasonal again. Sunday, same thing, but the clouds will be increasing for the second half of the weekend. The next best chance of getting into more precipitation is really more so Monday night into Tuesday, but there is a risk there second half of the weekend, Mike.
Okay, thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, we want to tell you how you can do your part this holiday season to support food banks across the GTA. Donate to CBC Toronto's Sounds of the Season fundraiser with Daily Bread Food Bank. We are collecting money and non-perishable food donations here at the CBC Broadcast Centre. You can also donate online or over the phone. And on Friday, December 6th, we are having an open house here at CBC Toronto. There'll be activities, live performances, and different events all day long. So come on down and bring a donation. And it's going to be a big day for us at CBC Toronto. It'll be Matt Galloway's final broadcast as host of Metro Morning. He takes over the Current in January, so you're still going to be able to hear him on CBC Radio. You can catch me at 6 o'clock tomorrow on CBC Television. Talia Ricci is here at 11. But now we want to leave you with pictures of the second annual Aurora Winter Festival. It officially opens tomorrow on the West Island of Ontario Place. If you're looking for some winter activities, take a look. Good night.